Tantor Audio presents The Mark of Tala, The 12 Kingdoms by Jeffe Kennedy. Narrated by Cris Dukehart. 1. My version of the story goes all the way back to the once upon a time with the 3 princesses, each more beautiful than the last. That's me, there in the middle. Of course, the history books usually cite the assault of Ordnung as the beginning of this story, or the siege at Windroven, with all the drama and glory of it. Everyone knows what the books say happened at Oddvel's Pass. The smell of blood saturates my memories, the crimson circle widening in the snow around his body, just as I'd seen it over and over in visions. But the story I want to tell you starts with me and my sisters. I suppose I'm lucky not to be the oldest and least beautiful. Ursula, however, is our father's heir, and couldn't care a whit for things such as prettiness. Sharpening her sword? Yes. Studying the law books, of course. Always planning her strategies. I confess I sometimes envied Ursula's dedication to ruling, but even when she reminded me that something could happen to her, making me next in line, so I should learn my role like any good understudy, I didn't do it. If something happened to both our father and Ursula, then the world would have fallen apart beyond repair. It would save nothing to stick my butt on a throne. Then there's Emilia, the youngest, breathtakingly beautiful. They called her Gloriana's avatar when she was born, and started composing sonnets to her by the time she turned 12. Hair the color of sunrise, eyes like twilight, skin like moonbeams. Ursula used to have to shoot me mean looks, and tap the cabochon jewel in the pommel of her sword to remind me not to roll my eyes. The worst part? You couldn't even hate her for it. Emilia has always been the sunshine of our lives, inside and out. She's not the fake nice of the courtiers and the ladies-in-waiting either, with that kind of happy chatter that grows louder and louder the more they're trying to cover their motives. Lady Dulcinea, for example, yakking on every day about her flowers and whether or not last night's chill will have frozen their petals. When I grumbled over dinner for the umpteenth time about her endless, empty-headed nonsense, I found the next morning that Emilia had taken Lady Dulcinea into her retinue and traded me the young Duchess of Gynor. When I thanked Emilia, she fluttered her red gold lashes. I'm not martyring myself for you at all, Andy. Dulcinea is kind of sweet. I ignore the sillier things. She hugged me with pure affection, violet eyes alight with humor. Besides, it's worth it to see you happy. Gynor loves to ride almost as much as you do. I worry you don't have enough friends. See how she is. We grew up the cherished and protected daughters of the High King of the 12 Kingdoms, our lives as carefully ordered as all of Orson's lands. Until the day Prince Hugh of Avonlea walked into court. He was meant for Ursula. She would need an appropriate consort, our father declared, and she should choose one so that Orson could see him trained in the skills of government also. Hugh naturally fell head over heels in love with Emilia. If Emilia's strawberry blonde hair meant sunrise to the poets, then Hugh was blazing noon. He strode into the formal audience chamber that day like a prince out of the old stories. His chainmail studded with rubies glittered in the light pouring through the chamber's clerestory windows. The velvet of his sleeves echoed his eyes, blue as the summer sky, and provided the perfect foil for his swept-back hair. He bowed low and deep to Ursula. I swear to Morano, every female in the room sighed. Ursula looked fine, too. Make no mistake, her ladies wouldn't allow otherwise. She cleaned up well when she went to the trouble, but Ursula's beauty is in the clear, firm lines of her jaw, the sharp eyes that miss nothing, her incisive intelligence. She sat at our father's right hand, while I sat next to the Queen's empty chair on the other side, Emilia to my left. I'd spent pretty much my entire court life one chair divided from my father and older sister, ever since our mother died at Emilia's birth. All told, I suppose it's better to have an empty chair, than to fill it with someone who might create a bigger rift in the kingdom's rule than this aching hole of a reminder. Not that High King Orson would marry again. Some said he kept the queen's throne empty as a reminder that he didn't need anyone's help to keep his crown. At any rate, my point is that Hugh had to look quite a ways over, away from Ursula, then across the king, another large throne, and invisible me to see Amelia and fall in love. We were caught in the harp string that thrummed between them. Even as he brushed his lips over Ursula's lean brown hand, strong from sword practice, Hugh's eyes narrowed to Amelia, his head following with a snap. The click reverberated through the foundation of our world. Amelia gasped and clutched my hand. I knew then we were in for it. "Absolutely not!" Our father, in full king mode, stormed about his private office. We three stood in a row before his desk, Amelia still holding my hand as if she were the wounded party. Tears ran down her cheeks, likely more for Ursula's pain than for her own heartbreak. "I cannot approve a marriage between Amelia and Hugh of Avonlea. Ursula, how can you suggest it? He's your betrothed." "You would have me wed a man who longs in his heart for another?" Ursula's face was composed, her profile clean and sharp, her clear eyes staring down our father. "You'd consign me to a fate of waking every morning to a husband who doesn't love me, to watching a beloved sister pine for the man I took from her. My solution offers happiness to 2 people, while yours condemns 3 people to lifelong misery." "Love is a myth, trumped up to make people feel better about themselves." King Orson leaned his hands on his desk, returning Ursula's challenge with his own hawkish gaze. "I don't believe in it, and neither should you." "It's irrelevant at this point." With an impatient sigh, Ursula pushed past me and laid her hands on Amelia's shaking shoulders. "Look at her, father." He did. Grave King Orson examined his youngest, his favorite. We all knew it. Even with her face crumpled in sorrow, Amelia looked lovelier than the orchids in the hothouse. "I'm so sorry," she gasped. "I can go away. I could go to Gloriana's temple, become one of the White Sisters." I couldn't feel my fingers. She gripped my hand so hard. Father raised his eyebrows. "You'd go study with the priests and priestesses of Gloriana? Take their vow of silence?" "Yes." Amelia firmed her soft lips. "I will. It's just this face. Once he doesn't see me, you will love Ursula as is meant, and—" "No." They all looked surprised that I spoke. I guess I tended not to. Frankly, with both Father and Ursula in the room, I seldom needed to, or could, slide a word between their fencing barbs, even if I had something to say. On the rare occasions I did, our father would give me that look, full of some unnamed distaste. "No," I repeated, tasting the word, surprised at my own certainty, and at the sudden pinprick headache. Ursula is right. Rational or not, whatever it is, love, infatuation, lust, it's done. Pairing either of them with anyone else would be an exercise in futility. This is how it will be. Even Amelia's tears stopped while they all considered me. I nearly checked my shoulder to see if I'd sprouted a second head. The king opened his mouth to say something, reconsidered and shook his head. He sat, turned away from the sight of me to Ursula. "What of the alliance with Avonlea? The whole point was to throw old Eric a bone so he'll stop his plotting." "Amelia is a princess of the realm. She can seal the alliance." "Eric wants his son, Avonlea's heir, on a throne, not married to a 3rd child." "His son would never sit on the throne as High King, even if he married me." "Eric doesn't know that." "Better to disappoint him now. His heir, married to the most beautiful woman in the 12 kingdoms, might please him and the people of Avonlea sufficiently." "Poems and songs aren't power." "Power isn't the chair you sit in." Amelia and I stepped back, fading behind Ursula as she and our father engaged in their familiar back and forth. They could argue each other into the floor, and frequently did, sitting at